What's up, y'all? It's T-Turn. Today we're gonna be talking about the Indigo Disk and locked content in the Indigo Disk. Now, we've gotten some hints that even after the Indigo Disk comes out, there's still gonna be content locked in it. So let me show you. Alright, and this should lead to a rabbit hole. So here's the tweet here. When talking about the idea if all the DLC content can be covered at the Indigo Disk's release, Koo says, definitely not possible. Some content's locked. So this means even after the Indigo Disk comes out on December 14, that we still don't have the full picture of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But how much is locked isn't known. But I want to play with this idea for this video. So I also noticed another thing. If you go to their official site, Pokemon, they actually made a small change. So you know how they have all their Pokemon listed here? If you check out the two new paradoxes, Raging Bolt and Iron Crown, they changed the description a bit. So a lot of people thought they were supposed to be in the Teal mask, and then Entei and Terrakion would be in the Indigo Disk. But it turns out they're all in the Indigo Disk. Probably something to do with what they actually are. They have to save for the final DLC. So that's what they updated on their site. For Raging Bolt, they changed it to Raging Bolt can be encountered in Scarlet during an event that occurs in the Hidden Treasure of Area 0 Part 2, the Indigo Disk. And then same thing for Iron Crown, except they say Pokemon Violet. But during an event, that's got me gassed. Cause we know these Paradox Legends are part of their hype season to get people excited, and that when the actual game comes out, the actual execution of them might be just boring. But this means there's some story tied to it. Now, to go back to the other tweet, I don't think this is the locked content they're talking about. They just mean during the story of the Indigo Disk, at some point during an event, you're gonna encounter the two new paradoxes. So that means these two new paradoxes aren't just gonna be standing somewhere outside of the story, and it also sounds like it's not gonna be a raid battle, because it says during an event that occurs in the DLC. And usually with these raid battles, you don't have to have the DLC to get them. Your game would just get updated to be compatible with the new Pokemon. But at the same time, you never know. Maybe they make a raid battle where you need the DLC bot or something. But either way, at the least what this sounds like is kind of like in the Crown Tundra, when you go to that tree and you see the Galarian birds. That kind of counts as an event, right? So you go to the tree, they're eating the fruits, and then they split off to different sections and you chase after them. At the least, you'll get something like that with this, which kind of takes me back to the Burn Tower when you walk in and you see the three beasts run away. Could you imagine you go to some part of Area 0 and the three Johto Paradoxes are having a meeting and they just split off? One's in Area 0, one's in Teal. Oh god, that's like a freaking copy though. Either way, the actual picture this makes me want to paint in my head is something more core to the story. So kind of like when we're first going down to Area 0 and we encounter the Glamora tied to the story with our friends, and then the Jigglypuff, Delibird, and then the Donphans. I want to imagine that when we're going down to like the deepest part of Area 0, that we're suddenly encountering these terrifying legendary paradoxes, and lore is being revealed as we go deeper and find more of them. And so on our initial encounter, they wouldn't be catchable, they'd be bosses that we'd fight with our friends. Because remember, Koo's other riddles, he seems to hint that we're pairing up with people. So I imagine after Blueberry Academy, leading to the big reveal that the Paradox Pokemon are fake and Terrapagos is a dream Pokemon, still just a theory right now, that they'll have these as boss encounters we fight. Which also works because they distributed Walking Wake and Iron Leaves already. So it would make sense if we can encounter them again. You know, we fight all three on the way down, but they're not catchable. And then in the post game, you can just catch the other two, Iron Crown and the Terrakion. But yeah, so back to this, right? If some content's locked, what could that mean? Especially that it was warranted for Koo to say this. I mean, if it was like an Ash Pikachu that was locked, sucker's not gonna say this. It sounds like there's some actual relevant content locked. Now, of course, there's some people speculate this could lead down DLC 3 territory. I don't think that's the case. Pokemon is gonna forget about this game soon. But one thing does open up. Why though? DLC 2 Part 2? Like a third update locked? DLC Part 3 and 4 confirmed. Everybody stay calm. Okay, we can't comment on DLC 3 and beyond. It'd be crazy if Pokemon did it, but it's unprecedented, so you know, we just gotta assume it's just the first two DLCs. But yeah, the one thing that this could be is Dokutaro, because remember, if we go through, let me actually find the tweet. So here we go. Remember when Koo posted this? Haven't you noticed yet? How would I notice? I don't have the DLC. This sucker said, haven't you noticed yet? Like we're a week into the Indigo Disk. Anyhow, haven't you noticed yet? The second DLC is still complete without the Momotaro part. You know, so all this time we were believing Kirin is influenced by Momotaro, Dokutaro, and dude's gonna play a role. But he said you can beat the second DLC, and there is no Momotaro involved directly. So maybe what's happening to Kirin is still related to Momotaro, but the actual Pokemon that we have remnants of in the code, just the empty slot and the name Dokutaro, maybe that's saved for something after the Indigo Disk. And that's why Ku said the second DLC is still complete without the Momotaro part, which is interesting. So if what's happening to Kirin is related to Dokutaro with the purple aura and somehow him resurrecting the Loyal 3, making the signpost work as him as the human, it sounds like Dokutaro might be that locked content, and the second DLC is just gonna leave little hints about Dokutaro using Kirin and the Loyal 3. Maybe even some lore and all. If I go through some other tweets of Ku, remember he calls the grandma sus? Look at this, he says she is sus. So imagine we beat the second DLC and you come back to Peachy's, maybe the dialogue's changed a bit, maybe even the freaking Peach is gone. And then Pokemon gives us the final update. Maybe it could be somewhere around January. Or maybe they could do it around Pokemon Day. So February of next year. But either way, they release a final update which gives us one final bit of story with Dokutaro. Now this has never really happened before where Game Freak just gives a free update with story. I mean, they got better things to do. Like, why would they not make money off this? So it sounds like if Dokutaro is that locked content and it's not somehow a third DLC, which is highly unlikely anyway, that it's gonna be just like a freaking distribution or like a raid battle of Dokutaro. But that's just me assuming the least from Game Freak, which is a good place to start. If they decide to blow our minds, have fun. But what's also interesting about this Dokutaro situation is, so you know how I joke on this channel about Dokutaro being a fifth Tapu or like a regional fake Tapu? Could you imagine they lock Dokutaro to use him as a teaser for the future, kind of like the Strange Souvenir. So they save him for the very end and then finally reveal its appearance to just tease something that'll come next in Pokemon. I still can't believe he tweeted this. She is sus. What could she possibly be sus about? She's selling freaking dog food with Pikachu on it, gigantic 7-liter cartons of milk, and then just has this peach. So again, we do have zombie written in the code. If someone is a zombie in Kitakami or in the game, I guess she is our prime suspect. Zombie is in not actually a weird zombie, but someone who's undead, like a ghost. Because zombie is just like a code name. But I think that might be something really eerie. If you beat the Blueberry Academy and Indigo Disk DLC and come back to Kitakami and the peach is missing. And they just don't tell us why until the update. Okay, but to counter what we just talked about, Dokutaro being that locked content, there is one more thing to go off. But the way Ku words it is weird, so it's up to you guys to interpret this. So it leads down this tweet chain. Remember Ku tweets, the Involution King of Blueberry. His sibling even tells you to hide from him. But yeah, someone responds to this and asks, hi, just wondering, is Terrapagus obtainable in the DLC? Which is bittersweet as this is to say, I'd be gassed if it's not. But Ku says, just wondering, what made you ask this? And so he says, your 3 out of 8 clues. Remember we talked about on this channel, the 3 out of 8 either meaning there's only 3 out of the 8 new Pokemon that we can get or can't get. Which if it's 3 we can't get, it would be like Diplin's Evolution, Terrapagus, and Dokutaro, just as a guess. So your 3 out of 8 clue and your comment about locked content. But Ku says, wrong direction. See, so at a surface, he could be saying wrong direction as in we're taking everything in the wrong path. But then wrong direction could also be specifically about this tweet, which means when he says 3 out of 8, as in only 3 are obtainable, that we have to flip that. And it's 3 that aren't obtainable, which is pretty much what we were saying before. That's another meaning for wrong direction. But that sounds more closer. So then it just brings us back to square one with Dokutaro being locked. But then let's throw a wrench in this, right? So about Dokutaro being locked, one, remember Ku posted this? Something similar would happen in the second DLC, and he put the girl mind controlling animals, which is what we think Kirin is doing or Dokutaro is doing. But he says this for the second DLC. So it's like Dokutaro's influence is in the DLC, but hey, he's not required for the story. So anyhow, I'm gonna leave y'all to think about all this. One, what is the event that will happen concerning the new Paradox legendaries? And then two, what is the locked content in the Indigo Disk that we won't be able to play at first? Make sure y'all shank that like button, and of course I got more to talk about, so I'll see you on the next one. Take care.